Sabah al-Khair, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, good morning. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Gateway Gulf, and welcome to this session titled From Vision to Reality, Economic Diversification Through Strategic Investment. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you for the second year in a row as moderator, and I look forward to today's conversations. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to discuss the diversification plans of Bahrain. Bahrain is already one of the most diversified countries in the GCC, with non-oil activities making up 86% of government revenue. But what is next? What is the next stage, especially in terms of infrastructure development, innovation, and progressive policies we're going to discuss with our distinguished speakers. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Sheikh Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, Minister of Transportation and Telecommunications of the Kingdom of Bahrain, and Her Excellency Mrs. Noor Al Khlaif, Minister of Sustainable Development and Chief Executive of the Bahrain EDB. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to the conversation. Sheikh Abdullah, let me start with you. Today we are talking about the next stage of diversification. A lot has been achieved, but as Minister of Transportation and Telecommunication, I'd like to ask you about connectivity, because it's very essential for many other sectors. So can you tell us a little bit more about Bahrain's plans to enhance regional and global connectivity, and how do you build upon previous successes and lessons learned from previous economic development strategies?
Being an island nation, the Kingdom of Bahrain has consistently realized the importance of enhancing our connectivity and logistics gateways. So our main air gateway, Bahrain International Airport, our main sea gateway, Khalifa bin Salman Port, our main land gateway is the King Fahd Causeway. So with aviation and with the air gateway, building on 75 years of strong foundation in aviation, and with a long-standing legacy, we aspire to develop Bahrain's aviation ecosystem as a center for excellence, revolving around 4 core pillars: safety, quality of service, speed of service, and cost efficiency. There are 4 growth target areas, namely commercial airlines, business aviation and private jets, cargo operations, and MRO services, maintenance, repair, and overall. So our main partners in this journey are obviously our national carrier Gulf Air, DHL, Texel Air, and Valo Aviation. And a very important new partner to be announced right after this session.
Sorry?
A very important partner to be announced right after this session.
Yes, this is the second one, the next session.
which basically will enhance Bahrain's connectivity in 3 out of the 4 pillars: commercial airlines, cargo, and MRO facilities. So, looking into our sea gateway, the Khalifa bin Salman Port, which is operated by APM Terminals. APM Terminals operate 60 ports around the world, 16 of which are in Asia and the Middle East. And this year, Khalifa bin Salman Port, and thanks to the capable team of APM Terminals Bahrain, was named the most efficient port of them all. To us, efficiency is key, and we develop that by lifting, storing, and connecting. Lifting the standard of efficiency and reliability with marine services, lifting the standard of proactivity with regards to yard services to tailor to local and regional needs, and lifting the standard of connectivity to enhance the ease of flow of logistics chains across the region. So being agile, being nimble, and being fit is what makes us quite unique in this sense. And thirdly, our land gateway, the Khalifa, the King Fahd Causeway, a 25-kilometer causeway linking the Kingdom of Bahrain with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There is a consistent annual growth in traffic of 6%, and realizing the importance of having a robust legislative and regulatory framework to enhance transportation, and especially in land transportation. Bahrain today is part of the GCC Unified Law for International Land Transport, which we believe will enhance the seamless connectivity across the Gulf and beyond.
I'm going to ask you specifically about some projects and the impact of those projects on other sectors as well. But Your Excellency, Mrs. Lekhlef, we'd like to broaden the conversation a little bit and discuss the priorities for the next stage. As we said, Bahrain has achieved already a lot when it comes to diversification. So what are your priorities going forward?
Thank you, Nadine, and allow me to maybe welcome everyone. I think it's my first chance to actually address the audience today, so it's an honor to have you all with us at Gateway Gulf. It's an honor for me and the team to be interacting with you, and it's a great, I mean, day one has proven to be a great way of connecting people to the Gulf and connecting people in Bahrain, whether it's government or private sector. So thank you so much, it's an honor. And also, very much an honor to be sitting next to His Excellency on a panel. I've been looking forward to this one. Really, we've enjoyed a lot of good conversations recently, so looking forward to the announcements as well. But Nadine, as you said, I think to look into the future, we have to recognize where we are today, and we have to appreciate the journey that we've been on. You're right, it's very much a diversified economy compared to what it was like about 2 decades ago, just over 20 years ago maybe, where the oil was the dominant sector. And you look at the GDP pie today, and no single sector is more than 20%. And you've got the priority sectors very much represented, financial services being the largest at around 17%, followed by manufacturing. You've got a large tourism sector, you've got the logistics sector that is large and growing, and we've got a tech sector, we've got the education, the trade. All of those are very much represented in the country. And we have to also recognize that this is beyond numbers. This is not just a pie that is split between sectors. There is a lot of substance behind it. What it means, if you talk about financial services, is I have more than 100 years of knowledge and know-how on how to continue to develop regulation, infrastructure, human capital in that sector. Similarly for manufacturing, similarly for the others. And when we look at our Vision 2030, when it was launched back in 2008, I almost see it as the roadmap or the foundation, the stone for how we should be working going forward. Because it had one single KPI, very simple. But what it had is it told us the way of living. It told us the way to do economic development, which is rely on the private sector to be the driver of economic development. The government should be the one, as per even the discussion in the earlier session, the government is there to facilitate
as an enabler.
Really business, exactly, an enabler, facilitate or create a business environment that is very friendly for the private sector to take us forward to what the future would look like. And I believe we have the right enablers today in order to drive the future based on those strategic sectors, but we kind of almost have to go the subsectors at the moment if we're talking future. So if I'm talking financial services, it is what is fintech in the future? What does digital banking look like in the future? What does digital identity look like in the future? If you're talking logistics, it is going to that connectivity. How am I going to get from one place to another, the fastest, most efficient way? And that goes for the other sectors. But when you have the right foundation, we have a digital-first government, we have a cloud-first government, a digital economy, we have a very competitive cost environment, we have a good regulation, human capital that is already abled, but there is already a system in place to make them, to enable them for whatever the change is. And that agility and the ability to change and pivot is very important. I don't think anyone in this room could claim to know what the future would look like. The future
disruption is happening very fast.
Exactly. It's how can I be ready to address any disruption that happens. But it's those enablers that will take us forward, I think, to the next level. But to me, the one thing that we really need to focus on is to continue that human development. Yes, AI is coming. Yes, there will be job replacement. The human, the person will still be the one that we need to continue to invest in. And we're very, very proud to have had that journey of investing in people. And we do have programs, and it's very much incorporated into our future plans.
Your Excellency, Sheikh Abdullah, when we're talking about economic diversification, infrastructure projects play a great role. Could you tell us what are those transformational infrastructure projects that you are are focusing on, and how do they serve the diversification plans that we're just discussing?
I'd like to highlight two strategic infrastructural projects that we are developing currently with our neighbors. Two causeways, one linking Bahrain and Qatar. It's a 40-kilometer causeway that will include a railway, and a second causeway linking Bahrain and Saudi Arabia that would also include a railway. To enhance connectivity, it is very much important to not only enhance the bilateral link with Qatar and Saudi Arabia, but it will also be part of the broader GCC railway network that we are engaging with our colleagues across the Gulf in developing. We truly believe that completing the GCC railway network would enhance connectivity for both goods and cargo. And there's in-depth discussions currently with our colleagues in Qatar and our colleagues in Saudi Arabia to expedite the implementation of these two strategic projects.
Those projects, of course, require financing. So I would like your thoughts on the opportunities this presents for the private sector and on the role of public-private partnerships in helping achieve those goals.
Of course. Maybe I'll bring in the Minister of Finance and National Economy to address the financing. But no, just to pick on actually something that was said on the earlier panels and which Lubna said, it's the private sector that in this region that has been driving economic development for centuries. So if you look historically, it is those family businesses, it is retail families in Bahrain, in Saudi, in the UAE, and all around. And so to be able to fund those projects, you have to bring in the private sector. And over the last maybe 10 years, back in 2015, the government launched a huge infrastructure package in Bahrain, where around 32.5 billion people coming out of COVID, economic recovery plan. There was another package of infrastructure projects across various sectors, around 30 billion projects. And the private sector has been the one driving a lot of that development. And the benefit to us is, I get the asset, it doesn't put a pressure on the government finances, but also it enables the private sector to be really active, again, leading to the ultimate goal, which is the private sector will drive the economic development. Something that the government has done a few years back is issue a PPP guidelines by the Minister of Finance and National Economy, which really gave a bit more clarity to the private sector, more security, removed some of the barriers to allow them to come in and operate. Maybe one example that's also been working, and I'm again very honored, and I think it reflects the vision of the leadership, is what's done also on the social housing side. So the infrastructure for the social housing is done very much in a partnership between the government and the private sector. And the Ministry of Housing has a lot of programs to enable the private sector to develop that. Maybe something that His Excellency's mentioned, and when you look at infrastructure today and what I need, it's no longer just actually the houses or I need the roads or all of that. It's the connectivity, the digital connectivity is very much part of the infrastructure today. So, and when we have live examples going on, and some of them have been announced recently, but when you've got a company like STC in Bahrain or beyond creating connectivity, linking Asia through Bahrain all the way to Europe, this is part of the infrastructure that is needed for the future. When you have the data center setting up in Bahrain, whether it's AWS, Oracle's cloud is coming here, STC's is a data center, and all of that, and there's more in the pipeline, hopefully. This is also infrastructure. So we're very proud that that infrastructure is done by the private sector. The government is not building for the private sector, it's actually building with the private sector here in Bahrain.
As Minister of Telecommunications as well, I'd like to hear your thoughts on data centers and setting up the digital infrastructure of Bahrain. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Being a digital gateway is essential for economic growth, and that's why the government of Bahrain has invested heavily in the ICT infrastructure over the years. Today, we have 100% 5G coverage across the island. And today, with the development of a number of data centers and enhancing connectivity through significant investments with regards to submarine cables and telecommunication cables, most notably beyond, joined recently a consortium of CMIWI 6. CMIWI sounds like a terminology, but it's the Southeast Asia, Middle East, and
North Africa.
West Europe.
Okay, off the
6.
mark.
It's basically a 12,700 telecommunication cable connecting Bahrain to 14 countries. STC Bahrain also invested in Pearl to Africa, which is the longest submarine cable with investment of more than $200 million. So this truly will enhance Bahrain's connectivity and it will enhance Bahrain's position as a digital gateway across the region.
Sheikh Abdullah, also you spoke earlier about the major infrastructure projects, and Bahrain, I know, has specific goals when it comes to emissions reductions. Could you tell us a little bit more about your decarbonization efforts in aviation and maritime specifically?
Bahrain's efforts throughout government, and specifically within the aviation and maritime sectors, we have been working into embedding sustainability in both aviation and maritime. Maritime, specifically looking at Khalifa bin Salman Port, we have been working closely with APM terminals to reduce carbon emissions. Throughout the past few years, we were able to reduce carbon emissions by 62%. How did we do this? Based on 3 main pillars: renewable energy, electrification of ground equipment, and energy consumption optimization. And we aspire to have Khalifa bin Salman Port as the first regional port that runs fully on solar power. As for aviation, mainly through the Bahrain International Airport, there has been also tremendous efforts to embed sustainability within their operations, whether electrifying their ground handling equipment, whether embedding and preparing for sustainable fuel, and also looking into management of carbon emissions. And I believe there's quite a unique opportunity across the Gulf. We are currently coordinating with our colleagues across the Gulf to develop a unified Gulf upper FIR, with the main purpose of enhancing efficiency, optimization, reducing the time of flights, and reducing the costs of travel. Reducing a time flight of as little as 1 or 2 minutes could have a significant impact on carbon emissions. Let's take, for example, a Boeing 777. The Boeing 777 burns 120 kilograms of fuel per minute. An Airbus 320 will burn roughly 60 kilograms of fuel per minute. So if we look at Bahrain's FIR alone, Bahrain Flight Information Region, in the first half of 2025, our young professional team at Air Traffic Control has managed 260,000 flights in 6 months alone. Imagine reducing 2 minutes of those flights. Imagine the positive impact that will have on carbon emissions. So we are fully dedicated on our national goal on reaching net zero by 2060, and so are my colleagues across government.
Thank you. The Ministry of Sustainable Development very much appreciates and
Exactly.
grateful for the work.
Your Excellency, Mrs. Lkhleif, I'd like to have your concluding remarks, especially with focus on human resources development, because it's always the bottleneck when you talk about such ambitious diversification plans.
Absolutely. Look, the human resources has been the cornerstone of that economic development. It's been the driver. There's that belief, there's that understanding. Maybe just a shout out to Temkeen, our Labour Fund, for all of the programs that they've done, all of the support that they've given to the private sector over the past maybe 15, 16 years since they were set up. And I'm honored to be on the board of Temkeen, and I see firsthand the hard work that is done there. What is really important for Temkeen is also to monitor the market, and really what they're looking at today is trying to address that, a question of what should the future look like, and instead of just thinking now, this is what now needs, what does the future need, and what can I do today in terms of changing my programs, also to influence the direction, because we have that power through the human capital to influence the direction that the private sector or the economy would go. So looking at that gap between the outcomes of universities and what the future would look like, and trying today to address that potential gap in the future is very instrumental for our economic development.
Your Excellencies, thank you very much for a very interesting conversation, and we can't wait to see what the next stage of the strategic development plans for Bahrain look like and the outcomes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.